Hello, gorgeous listeners. I have got the ray of sunshine of Las Vegas. You hear her voice every morning on Sunny 106.5. She is also the VP of Marketing for iHeartRadio Las Vegas, and she's now on your TV screens for Channel 3's Local Living. With me today is the one and only, my dear friend and media powerhouse, Joanna Baumann. Joanna!
Wow, I must make it really good to sound that great.
I'm telling you what, I mean, I am so excited that you're here, that we're chatting on the digital coffee date, that we've been able to make this space and really share your story. You have got such an incredible background and experience and what you do in the space and who you are as a person. I mean, it's no joke that you really are the ray of sun. I said the ray of sunshine for Las Vegas.
I try to be. Listen, life's too short to be angry every day. You got to smile. And you can't also be on a morning show, the biggest morning show in Las Vegas, and be cloudy.
That's right. So you like how she said that, right? The biggest morning show. She wanted you to know.
Dropping that in there.
Yes. Yes. Well, let's get into that. I mean, you know, I said about 3 titles that are like full-time jobs, each one on their own, and you are navigating all 3. What is your backstory? I mean, how was your career built? I know a part of the story, but let's share that of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, my background mainly is in marketing, and I never wanted to be the girl behind the mic. I wanted to be the girl behind the scenes promoting whoever it is on the mic. But I'll tell you what, my story is very unique because my journey was, again, never to be behind the mic, on the screen, any of that. It was to be behind the scenes. And I got an opportunity one day to try out being on the mic. And I said, yes, I never will forget the day. It was like one of those things. It's like, I'm already taking on so much, doing all this marketing, marketing all these brands here in Las Vegas. It's like, if they would have caught me on a bad day, I probably would have said no. But I was having a really good day that day. I'll never forget it. And I was like, you want me to try out on air? Yeah, let's do it. And I said, let's do it back in 2015. And I have been saying let's do it ever since. And it's gotten me to now being on air for almost 10 years. And the biggest, entertainment capital of the world. I feel very honored and privileged to do so.
Yeah. And, this is a piece of your story that really resonates with me. And this is one of the ways that we immediately connected because you have a marketing background. I have a marketing background. We're marketing girlies. We understand how to do branding. Hello, watch out. Thank you. But it's crazy how life sort of works and it almost makes sense in these positions that we're in and having how that background really plays a role. And it's really interesting. Your zone of genius, I want to say, is like the creativity and connection that you have and that you're able to do in all of these facets and wearing these different hats. So what are some ways that all of this kind of plays a role together for you?
I think one of the most important things in our world is that no matter if you're talking to the receptionist when you walk into a room, to the CEO of a company, to interviewing Taylor Swift, you treat every single person with the same exact level of respect. You make sure every single person that you're talking to feels important because that lasting impression is how people remember you. And you never know where that receptionist is going to end up, where they're going to be, and where you're going to need them maybe one day. But if you walk in and think that you're the coolest person in the room and you don't need to be kind to anybody, below a certain level, well, you're messing that up for yourself for the future. So I feel like that's been a huge, secret to my genius behind success in life is that, honestly, it starts with just being nice to people. And I can't tell you, in this town in Las Vegas alone, how many people I remember just because they were not nice, right? But I remember and I wanted to try to advance the people who I always knew were good, nice people.
Yeah, and that kindness, I mean, it goes a really long way. Yeah. And I think you kind of bring that out in others, but you see it in each other. It's kind of like that real recognizes real.
Yeah, your vibe attracts your tribe.
It is. And I felt that immediately when you and I had that connection. And, we've been great friends ever since. And it's been wonderful. You're also a mom of 2 with second baby on the way. And not just on the way, she is on on the way.
Yeah, so this is baby 2 right here. We're at 34 weeks right now. She could come today. You know, we don't know.
Yeah,
but we're balancing it all and hoping she makes it to 37, 38 weeks. But yeah, we're at 34 weeks. So yeah, another baby on the way. Just add to the chaos, you know? It's just another thing to add to the mix.
Another thing. It was wonderful to celebrate you, on your special day with her baby shower. I mean, it was gorgeous.
Thank you.
You know, but as we're talking about these things between these many hats that you wear, wife, mother, career boss, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that we sort of navigate these waters in between each. How do you navigate the media space, and what are maybe some of the different layers and lessons you might have learned and grown in those spaces along the way?
I think you navigate it differently throughout the years and through your tenure of time, right? Like how I navigated it back in 2015 when I was thrown into the on-air world and was not a mom, didn't have kids on the brain. I was brand new marriage. I navigated the media world in my career significantly different than I am now with a child at home and one on the way. And I think that's okay to be able to navigate it different. I think the key to it is not being afraid to change your course of navigation.
Yes.
I think what really harms people along their career journey is that they're afraid to change. And I know in the corporate world and just the world in general, we use the term pivot a lot. You got to be ready to pivot. It's so true. You have to be ready to adapt to change and understand that year over year, as your personal life changes, the way you're going to navigate your career, your community within your career is going to be different, and that's okay. You have to be able to embrace it.
That is so powerful, and it's so true. And it's kind of this interesting thought process behind it where, you know, as we grow and as we evolve and as we change, we also, while that's happening internally, there are all these other exterior things externally that are happening. So we almost have to be a little bit of that flexibility, going with the flow, but also embracing, like, it is okay that we do evolve. It is okay that we do change given whatever space we're in that moment. And I think with the things that you have going on, I keep going back to this idea of balance.
Yeah.
You know, we hear it a lot. Work-life balance. You know, are you prioritizing yourself? Are you prioritizing your family? Are you prioritizing work? And we're supposed to sort of all have it completely balanced.
Right.
What does that look like for you? And how are you navigating the water of balance?
Work-life balance, that is an ever-changing topic, right? Like, again, that navigation is going to change every single year. And, you know, some days I crush it. And I'm like, I'm getting it all down.
I'm doing so good right now.
Add something else to my plate. The next day I'm like, no, I'm drowning, I'm dying. Please take it off my plate.
Yes.
So I think that work-life balance not changes year over year. It changes every single day. And I think once you start to realize some of your core values, some of the things that truly make you happy outside of your career, that balance is going to drastically change. I never wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be that career girl. I wanted to be that girl that traveled. I wanted that so bad in life for so long. And I had it until one day I woke up and I'm like, I want to be a mom. So how am I going to balance this all? How am I going to do it? My career, I put slightly on the back burner to try to make it happen. Yeah. And I think that work-life balance, like I said, it's every day you're figuring that out. Mm-hmm. And I think your priorities change. And then, of course, your course of action to get to a successful work-life balance is going to change in the process.
Yeah, and I think as you're speaking, I'm hearing a lot of also grace in these moments for yourself.
Sure.
You know, especially thinking about, okay, this day, you know, maybe I had it all sorted in this certain way, and then the next day it's completely different.
Yes.
But giving yourself grace that in that moment, it's okay that if today looked like today and tomorrow looks like tomorrow.
Yes. Rather
than being hard on yourself that, well, why couldn't I do it today when I did it yesterday?
Yep.
You know, and figuring out that, you know, I feel like a lot of times there's all this pressure. And all of the many hats that we have, and the feeling of being women in these spaces, in high careers, high volume careers, and then also putting on the mom hat, and then also when you add in a husband, when we got these husbands in the mix, you know, it's like all these things, and there's this level of expectation that we sort of, whether it's society or whether it's us internally, we put on ourselves, where it's like we're supposed to have it all a certain way.
Well, I think you hit a good point there. I think the majority of pressure that we feel is self-inflicted. We all do this. We are all in our own heads running these scenarios through our brain that hasn't even happened yet. And we're already burdening ourselves with like the what ifs. And I've learned to almost a little bit let that go, Jess, because I always was that girl who was in her head and was trying to always forecast, how am I going to navigate this if this happens? Well, why am I even thinking about navigating it when it hasn't happened?
Right.
So I feel like that almost intercepts with your work-life balance when you're constantly your own worst critic and your own worst like predictor of what's to come. No, you just got to take every day on as it comes.
Yeah, have a little flow in you. Have a little flexibility and see what you've got to tackle that day.
Yeah.
Now, I did mention the husband hat.
Yes, love a husband.
Love a husband. We love a supportive partner, okay? And, listen, we kind of talked about this offline, but there are women out there who don't have a partner, and they are navigating it as a freaking queen, and they're doing a phenomenal job at it. But I do think it's important to highlight and talk about when you do have a partner who is there, who is supporting you in a number of ways, however that support looks. And it's interesting to me because I often also feel like there's a lot of ways where that supportive partner sort of adds to the success that you have in the career and also at home as a mom. So what is that like for you?
Oh my God. Well, listen, all day, every day, if you are a single woman, you should be proud. Partner does not define you.
Correct.
I think what's important is that you end up with somebody that you truly consider your best friend, right? Because that's what you need, someone who can be your biggest cheerleader and realize that you're going to rally storms together through the good and the bad. Yeah. And I think, and shout out my husband, Andrew, because he is a phenomenal partner. I wake up almost at some point every day looking at him now as a father, as my husband, as he's got his career going on as well. I look at him and I think, if I did anything right, I chose the right partner in this life.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because when you don't, they hold you back in so many areas. I mean, a lot right now at 34 weeks, I can't do in terms of being as involved on the home front with my 3-year-old toddler. But I look at him and I'm like, oh, I picked the right partner. He just picks it up without even being asked to. And so I think partners, again, you don't live and die by having a marriage or finding that person in life. Sometimes that's not going to be somebody's journey, and that's okay. But when you have a good partner that supports you, you appreciate it, you acknowledge it, you try to work on it as much as possible, because I will say, out of everything, career, motherhood, relationships tend to get on the back burner.
Yes.
Right? In order of like what you're taking care of. But I think what I really realized as a mom and appreciating a good partner, that needs to move to the front.
Oh, yeah.
There you go in terms of that priority shift and things change year over year. That partner needs to be on the forefront.
Yes, I completely agree. And what you said is very powerful. And it's almost that concept where people are like, these stories you hear of like, oh, the kids turned 18, they went to college, and I looked at my person and I was like, who are you? Yeah. And I feel like that's sort of what ended up happening in a lot of different relationships, and still happens, where you sort of forget about this person that originally was just the two of you. You chose them. And there's a beautiful thing that happens when you have that partner that is the right partner for you, the right person, and like you said, your best friend. And that it creates this really beautiful chemistry, this beautiful sort of tapestry in the lives that we're creating and that we're weaving.
Can I share one thing I heard one time? It was Steph Curry's wife, Aisha Curry.
Yes.
And she made a comment one time when she was being interviewed, and she was asked, all these kids you guys are adding to your family home life, like, are they on the forefront? And she's like, no, my husband will always be number one. Okay. At the end of the day. And I thought that was so inspiring, because I think it took a bold stance for her to say that. Right. That like, no, my husband's first and the kids are second. Like, that's unheard of.
Everyone's like, wait, what?
That's unheard
of. You don't care about your kids? Like, no, that's not what she said.
No, but she said that, and it resonated with me so much, the fact that she was like, my marriage is what got us to have a family and children. It's never going to be pushed behind them. He will always be number one, and the kids will be number two, because I'm not going to be as good a mother to them if I'm not a good partner to my husband, and they have this great relationship to grow up around. So that always stuck with me, and I think it's always important. I'm like, don't be afraid to put your partner first. Right. That's okay.
it is okay.
It's all right. The kids will be okay.
No,
better, actually.
Exactly. And, it kind of leads me to thinking about overall this concept of having a system of support.
Sure.
It doesn't just stop with either your partner, your husband, whoever that person is for you, significant other, but it actually kind of trickles into the tribe we were talking about.
Absolutely.
And the people that you keep around you. And I often think even the women that you keep around you. So, what does that look like for you? And do you find that your system of support are really people that you can lean on?
Yes, I do. I think I've gotten to that point. There have been a few bad apples along the way, and unfortunately,
them apples.
Those apples.
We're gonna make apple cider with y'all over there.
they rot away at your emotions. Like when you have the wrong people in life, it's terrible. I think young. Oftentimes when you're a female, young in your career, there's nothing wrong with wanting to surround yourself and make connections in every chance you get. I think there is a day that comes when you wake up and you're like, you know what? Not everybody has to like me, and I don't have to like everybody too. And that's okay. Like, I get it. I did it young. I had to be surrounded by huge monster girl groups, had to be this group, had to be in all of it. Now I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, okay, the people that need to still be in it will be in it.
Right.
And I don't have to work as hard to keep them here because they should be here. They belong here. And then I find myself feeling so refreshed by that just because of the fact girls are catty. Right? Oh. Girls get jealous. You can't surround yourself by the jealous ones, and you'll know who they are.
Oh, yeah.
And when they start I love that saying. It's like, when the people's true colors start coming out,
Believe them. Yeah.
Believe them.
Yes.
Believe them. Don't be like, oh, maybe they're having a bad day. Stop making excuses for everybody's
because
bad
eventually
day.
those excuses end up adding up, and then you're like, wait a minute, what kind of people am I sort of surrounding myself in? And it brings me back to something my mom used to say all the time growing up, which was, and I was always like, okay, Mom, tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. And I was like,
that's great, though.
Mom, but it was great. And, hear these things. And she said it also in Spanish, which I'm not even going to try to botch that. Yes, I can speak Spanish, but I can't say it the way my mom always said it, okay? But it was always something I grew up with. And then as I got older, understanding that quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
Because I think even in our 20s, and we have like the big group of girlfriends, and it's all fun and everything, but it really becomes like when life starts lifing, when things start hitting, when the bad times and the down times come, like who are those people who are there for you and are going to show up for you and be there for you?
Right.
When, it's not like, I remember it was my 30th birthday. Okay. You're going to hate this story. Okay. But it was my 30th birthday. I had a whole dinner planned. Bunch of girls, right? Like, oh, these are all my girlfriends. It's my dirty 30 and flirty, whatever you wanted to call it, right? It was a vibe. And all throughout, it was like over the next few weeks, everyone started to cancel. Like, and it was one of those things that, like, I understood two of them canceling because they're still my friends to this day. Sure. And they had a past that was real. But the other whole group, mind you, this was like a group of maybe 10 girls. Wow. Just flaked, completely flaked. Some didn't even tell me. And it was like this whole concept where I was like, I'm about to turn 30 years old. And again, it's not just about that it was a party and you needed to show up or anything like that, but it was more so just, who was going to make me feel special in that moment, who was there for me, and who showed up was my mama. Oh. She was like, I'm going to take you out. And I had the best time with my mom. We went wine hopping. We went to some wineries. It was a wonderful birthday, but I think it really did end up putting into perspective, like, I'm out of my 20s. I'm out of the superficial connections and relationships. Right. What am I now building and who is now around me?
I think that realization, too, of like, who's showing up because you can offer them something, right? I think that's a huge navigation, especially in this city. I mean, Las Vegas is a city about connections, which makes it amazing, but also makes it a little bit harder to navigate because you're like, who's only using me to get something or to get somewhere? So I think when you can start to kind of weed that out a bit, it gives you so much peace of mind at the end of the day. And I'll tell you what, as somebody who holds, all these jobs, toddler at home, mother to be again, a marriage, I still will show up for my people. Like, I still will figure it out. Now, is it always the number one, number two? No, but will I always make an effort to go show up to support my friend if I'm invited?
Yep.
Yes. I think it's important because I still love and want to show these people that love and support, even though I'm busy. But the people that matter will show up.
Yeah, and that's real. And, you know, as we're talking about these different spaces and layers to our lives, this concept of self-care and you time.
Yeah.
Do we have time for that? Do we have time to read a book? I mean, I don't know. It feels like, you know, where we talk about this balance and we say all the relationships we need to be taking care of.
Yeah.
We kind of don't really talk much about the us, ourselves, that relationship to be taken care of. Are there ways that you're sort of doing that? Do you have a method to, you know, how you sort of fill your own cup so that your cup is full to fill others?
Absolutely. Now, I first and foremost want to say that as a working mom, when you have a family support system behind you that can be there to help love your child as much as you, it significantly allows you to do that type of stuff more.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like what that saying, it's like the only real hack in life when you're a mom is to have grandparents who want to be involved.
Yes.
It's true. I could not do half of the me time if it wasn't for how involved my parents are with also helping to raise my son.
Yeah.
So I want that first and foremost. I know it's easier for some people out there when they have that family support. Now, I think it's also communication with you and your partner that when you start to feel burnt out or you're like, I need to go to Target uninterrupted. Don't call me for an hour.
And it's the Target with the Starbucks in it, okay?
Always. You know I'm getting cake pops.
Yes.
So let me have this time. But, like, not be afraid to tell your partner. Not ask. Tell your partner, hey, this is what we're going to do here. I'm going to go get an hour at Target. After I come back, you can get an hour doing things that you want to do. And I just need my time alone. And I think that when you have, again, going back to that core relationship, having the right partner, you can be able to communicate that with each other and not be afraid to be judged.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think finding that me time is hard and depends on the support system you have in the background. But I also think you have to be communicative. You have to be able to express that you need help or you need time. So if you're going to say, I'm going to take it all on, you're going to get burnt out real quick.
Oh, yeah. And I just want to just reiterate that point that you just said. You guys heard it here first. You have permission from Joanna to tell the people in your life what you're going to do.
Yeah, not ask.
Not ask. You tell them.
Because you show up, again, it goes back to that whole thing of like, you've supported those people that you're likely telling that to. You have likely supported them. Yeah. And it all, like, it's just a circle of support. Yes. It always comes back around. So again, it's like, don't be afraid to tell people what you need. Don't always ask for permission. Say, I need to do this. Yeah. And it's gonna make me a better me when I come back here. And then I'll do something for you. Yes. And you just, it's that give and take, but you have to be able to communicate it.
Yeah, and that's so crucial. A lot of times I end up talking about this same concept about reciprocity in relationships. Sure. It's not about what you can get from the other person and what they're going to give you, but in every relationship, there always is that reciprocity in order for it to sustain, whether, in a partnership, whether it's, a 60-40 deal that day, or maybe it's an 80-20 because you're tapped out, but your partner isn't. And, it's the same thing in friendships. It's the same, you do for people that you love, and they do for you because they love you. It's that sort of give and take. And definitely, it also, I started to think about your motherhood, right? Sure. Like, you've got a toddler.
That's a lot.
That's the hard phase. A toddler, okay, and a baby on the way. What sort of things have you learned throughout motherhood? Because I do think motherhood ends up being this ever-evolving and ever-teaching sort of thing. But is there anything that you're either you've just kind of gone through and experienced and learned, or is there something that you're like, you know what, baby number 2, I want to take these lessons into this, with my daughter, what is sort of that looking like for you right now?
I think there's really 2 things that have come from being a mom with me. Number 1 is patience. I'll be the first one to admit, like, that was always a hard quality for me to possess and have, is patience. I'm always like, get it done, get it done, get it done.
Yeah.
When you have a child, you are on a totally different time zone, a totally different world. It smacks you in the face with having to figure out patience. And it was a quality that I had a tough time with. So here I am right now. God's like, you need more patience. Here's another one.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like, you know.
God's like, we're still learning this, I see.
Here's another. Now you're really going to learn
exactly.
it. So I do think embracing patience, I think that was, for me, was probably the hardest thing to navigate. But also I'm very appreciative that I've become a more patient person because of the fact that I've become a mom. And one thing that helps me every single day, just too, is never forgetting the journey that I was on. You know, you and I off the mic have talked about infertility struggles and things like that. You know, I have had 5 miscarriages and 2 ruptured ectopic pregnancies. I've had some stuff behind the scenes. Now, I didn't bring that to life to my audience, to when I wake up Vegas every day, until I was really on the other side and strong enough to talk about it. But I never forget that journey. And I think some days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm tapped out, I'm exhausted. I'm like, yeah, but Joanna, you were also crying in the bathroom praying for this.
Yes.
And so it's like, don't forget how far you've come, because sometimes I think when you can reflect on your journey, it helps you get through the hard days.
Yeah.
Because you're like, at one point I asked God for this. I wanted this so bad. You remember like those moments of hardship, and you're like, why am I going to get frustrated? I wanted this. And it just kind of makes you just like reshift your mindset for a second, is when you really focus on, okay, how far did I come here? I asked for this. All right, we're going to accept this really tough day that's right in front of me.
Yeah, you know, and I think that is so powerful. We've had so many conversations about motherhood and the infertility journey and things that, you know, we both have experienced. And I think that there's what you just said is such a powerful message in any space too.
Yeah.
It's almost like oftentimes, you know, where we're at now, we forget what we were praying for, what we were crying out to God. I mean, I talk about my moments where I was laid out on the floor crying in tears of like, this is, you know, what, this, that, the other, God, do you hear me? And all these things. And then fast forward and you have it, and now we sort of struggle with gratitude sometimes, or, you know, these things. And it's like, you know, it wasn't that long ago that you asked for this. And so I think that is such a powerful message, even in motherhood, of learning that and harnessing that and embracing that and having and experiencing what that is.
I think it's that light at the end of the tunnel that everybody will always get to. Yes, the timelines may be drastically different, but then when the light is at the end of the tunnel, almost don't get blinded by the light. I always say that's when you have to reflect the most on your journey, because when you're on the other side and you have that sigh of relief, it's like, okay, I'm in the light, but like, I need to remember how I got here and what I went through, and just, you know, not be blinded by the glow of it. It's like, you know, your journey was a part of your story. Never forget it.
Yeah, and I think you sharing that, and like you said, it took you a while, you know, a lot of us are all healing from different things. And so sometimes, you know, it may take you some time, but I think sharing it, to your point, it does bring people together in the sense that you never know what other women are also going through. Yeah. The amount of women, when I shared my miscarriage and what I went through, I mean, it was such a difficult time. You saw me during that time and how tough everything was, and I'm still dealing
every day
with what that process was for me. I'm still grieving in weird ways that will show up and that will happen. And I feel like it wasn't until I shared it, and I did a social media post, and I was very I was very private about it for a while. But when I did the social media post and I shared it, the amount of women who reached out to me, not just on the post and messaging me, like DMing me, texting me, and not just like, oh my goodness, I didn't know you were going through this, but they were like, I've gone through this, that, or the other. And it was a space where we could share it. And it just brings me back to how powerful these conversations are.
Yes.
Because we're sort of opening the can of worms of things that people don't really want to share or talk about. And it's like, hey, we're all here and we're all going through it. Why not not share these experiences and talk about, like, yeah, you know, people might see you like, oh my gosh, she's so happy, but look at what you went through to get this beautiful family that you have and that you're building. I mean,
it's kind, but when when you are navigating the world of infertility and loss, it is such a lonely club. But when you open the door and you allow people to step into that world a little bit, you'll realize that club is bigger than you ever imagined.
Yeah. It's an unfortunate thing.
We don't want anybody a part of that club. But that club is there, and the people that are in it get it. And I think that, similar to your story, when I shared that for the first time on the mic, the reception from our listeners and people that were like, Joanna, I needed that. I haven't, you know, you feel almost in a way that you're like, okay, like I'm okay with the talk about this. And it gets better and better the more you can talk about it.
It does. It does. Well, thank you for sharing your story, because this has been... my heart is just warm. I feel all good inside. You know, there are a few things I like to do before we close. Okay. So let's start with maybe an actionable takeaway here. Maybe just a small habit or something that you feel sort of helps you navigate your spaces right now, as we talked about the different waters. Maybe a good habit that you've harnessed and you're like, you know what, this has been really great for me.
Absolutely. I think early on in my career, and I even touched on that at the very beginning when I told you I said yes to this incredible opportunity to be able to wake up Las Vegas every single day. The power of yes is real, but the power of no is also real.
Ooh, yes.
Especially as your time goes on. Don't be afraid to say no to things. I think we are so scared of that word as busy working career women. We don't want to say no to anything. But man, when you can get to that point of you've built your relationships, you've built your trust, you've built your circle, and again, you have the right people around you, you can incorporate the word no more for your mental well-being.
Yes.
And your physical well-being, all your emotional well-being, it all trickles down. Don't be afraid to say no to things if it does not feel like it is going to fill that coffee cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's two last little, I like to call them little segments, little bites here, little sips, if you will. So the first one I like to do is called passing the cup.
Okay.
This is that moment where you're looking at women coming after you. You know, these are the generations to come that will fill your shoes at some point or be in your same spaces that you've been navigating. What is maybe the one thing you want to leave behind, especially considering a woman in media?
Oh, I love this question so much. And I think it's a lesson I've learned recently. I think don't let yourself be defined by your job. And for me, that is an important takeaway, and an important thing that I try to teach young women these days is that, yes, we have passions and we have goals and we have dreams. And when you achieve them, it's amazing. But it's not all that you are, right? A company will cut you faster than I just snap my fingers, right? Like, so you need to be able to embrace the fact that you are not defined by your career. Yes, it can fill your coffee cup. It can fulfill your
coffee cup. Y'all heard that, right? Okay.
It can fulfill your heart, fulfill all these things for you, but does not need to define you. So I think that going back to also the wearing the multiple hats is like, you like do these things while you're young. Figure out what you like and what you don't like, right? But realize too that you are not just your career. You are more than that.
Yes, that is such a powerful thing. I myself am a testament to that.
Yeah, for sure.
And we all are.
Yes.
And I think that is so powerful. Now, for our final sip, let's get our coffee cups. Okay.
I'm ready.
You know, I like to do a little slurp sound so you know it's the final sip. Okay, hold on.
I love that.
Joanna has a water. I have coffee. Okay, baby's on the way. No, there is not any mimosas in here, though we will have some maybe next year.
Later this summer.
Well, for the final sip, this is going to be any advice. I mean, you've been dropping them. You've been dropping them like gems all throughout here, but maybe some advice or maybe a personal truth that you would like to offer to women who are listening right now in this moment after getting all of these incredible gems and hearing your story, something that you just want to leave them with?
Yeah, I think it's important. I've maybe realized this a little bit too late in my life, that it's okay. Not everybody's going to like you. And that's okay. And that's totally okay. I forever wanted to be liked by everyone. And I feel like I put that in the forefront of a lot of opportunities and conversations along the way. And then I step back and I reflect on it years later even. And I'm like, why would I have cared that much about what that person thought of me? It has no effect on me being a wife, a mom, a VP, an on-air host. It has no effect on where I'm at. Why did I put so much on wanting everybody to like me? Because at the end of the day, years later, when you reflect on that, you're like, I don't even remember half of the people that did or didn't like, because people change, right? People change along the way. And so I think it's okay to realize at some point in your life that not everybody is going to like you. And that's totally okay. If they don't like you, I'm not. It's less effort off my plate to have to give. So I'm okay with it. Now I embrace. I'm like, they don't like me, I'm fine with it. I don't need to change it. Keep it pushing. Keep it moving.
It's so true. You know, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But for those who you are, girl, they're going to sip on it well. Let me tell you.
They'll continue to fill your cup.
That is right.
So just be okay with that. I think that's a huge world to navigate, and sometimes takes years to realize. But you will always get to some point in your life, your career, relationships, and you're like, I'm okay with who I am. And if people don't like me, if you lose a follower on Instagram,
listen,
don't lose sleep over it.
I think it's because people sometimes might think it's a level of rejection.
Sure.
But who cares?
Who cares?
Okay, you are going to be somebody's cup of tea, and those are the people that you want to keep around
5 years from now, that rejection, you won't even be thinking twice about it. And you're like, why did I spend so much time, all this effort trying to be liked by everybody? The right people will like you, and don't waste your time on it. It does not matter. Years later, I promise you that.
That's right. Well, Joanna, thank you so much for joining us on this journey for the Digital Coffee Date. It's been wonderful chatting with you. You've been dropping gems left and right. Or should I say like coffee beans? You see how I keep trying to, she's just dropping them beans. I don't know how that sounds actually. We may not go with dropping beans, okay?
Hopefully we're not dropping anything today.
Yeah, we're not dropping anything. We're not dropping. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, you guys know what the deal is. You go to www, I gave you the W's, thedigitalcoffeedate.com. That is where it's at. That's where we're having conversations beyond the podcast. But of course, you can listen on everywhere that you stream. And I'll see you next time for the next brew.
Ooh.